out in life being a law enforcement officer. I've got about 13 years in law enforcement, and which was in Florida in Alachua County. I was an investigator up there, and then got out of law enforcement. I was in business for several years, been an entrepreneur most of my life, and when we started this company, we were really involved in internet marketing, reputational type things for some of the top, internet marketers in the real estate business. And we kept getting reputational type questions, and someone's hurting us online, what do we do? And so we started looking at that, and that's kind of how the company was formed. Where it's transitioned to today is that we really work as an internet crisis group, if you will, that really helps folks that have come across all kind of different crises, whether it be reputational, whether it be emotional, whether it be technical in the sense of being hacked or what have you. So there's a lot of things that come at us, but generally when it hits our desk or our company, it's really become a crisis for them, and that's kind of how we've evolved as a company. There's a lot of different types of cyber threats that range from defamation, which comes in a variety of different forms, and whether that be through email or through websites or third-party sites or through AdWords, or a variety of different ways that people try to hurt one another, defamatory. But what we also get into is unfair business practices, where we're seeing a large move today where competitors are actually going after other competitors and trying to hurt them. And that could be anywhere from fake false reviews and trying to make themselves look good, to stealing of leads and those types of things across the board. We see quite a bit of cyber harassment, where someone is being harassed through email or through phone or text or websites or those kind of things. We see intrusions into emails and phone accounts and not bank accounts, but computer accounts and those kind of things, for the purposes of either taking that information or utilizing damaging information against someone to either to extort them or to hurt them or to wreck their company. And so these are the kind of things that we're seeing. I mean, we've seen extortion, hacking of websites, stealing leads. So pretty much, as I said, when it hits our desk, it's become a crisis to a point where it's really costing you money as a company, and where you might not even be in business if you don't do something about it, or extreme emotional damage, and even to the point of where we've had people want to commit suicide because some of the things that have been done to them. And so that's the kind of world we tend to live in. Well, the majority of cases that we see are in the areas of defamation, they're in the areas of hacking, they're in the areas of cybercrime, copyright infringement, gray market diversion, unfair business practices. Those seem to be and I don't know if I said stalking, harassment types of things. That seems to be the bulk of where we get our clients from, and what they're seeking out from as far as crisis is concerned. Attackers tend to use a variety of different methods to attack, and it's really as varied as the attacker themselves and their level of sophistication. But we see attacks across just websites that they've bought anonymously and try to utilize, across blogs, across emails, across text messages, across phone calls. We see it across AdWords. We see it across gripe sites like Ripoff Report, Complaints Board, Don't Date Him Girl. It's really as imaginative as folks find stuff, and in fact that's how we find out about a lot of these sites, is that we see, and well, that's a new site, or that's a new way of doing it. A lot of things that are becoming more and more prevalent are VoIP type texting and calls where they're faking where they're coming from, or spoof your ID type of stuff. And so people are getting more and more technical as well in how they're accomplishing these types of attacks. Damages, obviously you can have financial damages, and we literally have seen companies that are losing tens of thousands of dollars a month because some unknown person is trying to destroy them. We have seen people lose contracts with major providers like the NBC News or not NBC News, but the NBC network and whatnot, of stuff that they had and long-running contracts, because a lot of folks don't want to look into it to see if it's true or not. We see young kids that get damaged and are damaged goods for a job and some unemployment. We see executives that someone has come after them and companies have let them go. We see huge emotional distress, and it's interesting that when we talk to people, regardless of your everyday Joe or a prominent CEO, is that when they come under these types of attacks, they're all the same. They really are. It's really tough on them, and you would think it would be different for different levels and different walks of life, but it's not. It's very emotionally damaging because, one, you don't know where it's coming from, you don't know why it's coming from, you don't know what the ultimate goal is, you don't know how to stop it. Everybody you've talked to said no, you can't. Solve those types of things, and so. So we have all of those, types of damages. Occasionally, occasionally physical, damages, but not so much that, it's not that they don't happen. But this is a psychological warfare, is what it really is by folks, and they're using the internet as a tool to be able to do that. I would like to say that there is a lot more help for individuals out there related to the police or nonprofit organizations or those kind of things. But the fact is that the internet and our technological society has outstripped our laws. And so it is not uncommon for people that call us, as I've been to the police, I've been to the FBI, I've been to an attorney, and no one can help me. What can you do? And that's not pointing any fingers at any of those agencies, because being an ex-law enforcement officer, I understand the dynamic. But they get so many calls and complaints and et cetera, and the officers aren't trained. They don't have the equipment. They don't have the manpower and bandwidth to be able to handle those things. So unless it's got some reason for them to follow through with it, and a lot of times if nothing's taken, nothing has to be taken to emotionally destroy you, with that, then they don't typically want to investigate. FBI is, generally have their thresholds, which vary in different districts, but they're dealing with huge stuff, and Boston bombings and those kind of things, and cybersecurity and for our nation and our water and those types of systems, and so they're really busy with that. So if it's just everyday Joe or even good-sized company, unless unless it's huge, they're generally not going to get involved in that. And the internet law. While there's a lot of attorneys that are very good at their own type of discipline, but there's not very many attorneys nationally that really understand the ramifications of internet law, jurisdictional issues with that, what it takes to be able to navigate that entire process and ultimately bring the people to justice in what they're doing. And so what we're finding is, and what we've done is we really started and kind of took the FBI model, if you will, of combining combining technical cyber capabilities, combining that with legal, for that matter, cutting edge legal types of strategies in order to combat this, because there's no precedent. And while they're getting some precedent these days, but there's still lots of things that are uncharted territory, gray territory, that is as varied, as the judge or jurisdiction or what have you. And to give you an example is that, in the state of New Jersey, there's no cyber stalking law. Okay, so I can go harass the heck out of you in New Jersey, and good luck with that. From a criminal viewpoint, civilly you can do something. So these are the kind of things, and as you look across all the various laws, quite frankly, a small proportion of them have been more aggressive towards trying to catch up the laws with technology, but they still have a long, long ways to go. And there just aren't there's no money or advocacy groups or those types of things in order to be able to really handle that. I mean, you got haltabuse.org and people that are trying to do that, but it's very difficult to bring solutions to them. And henceforth, it's why we're busy as a company. In investigating these things, there's a number of tools that we can bring to bear, and it really is solution-oriented depending upon the nature of the case. Some cases are simple enough in the senses that we can reach out to the person's doing it or identify who's behind it and say stop or else, whatever that or else might be, and that solves the problem. There are a variety of things that we utilize on an investigative side that are social engineering and traps and whatever to try to set the people up that we're dealing with in order to obtain their IP addresses and computer type, basically a fingerprint of who it is and what they're doing, and that we can then take to law enforcement and or through subpoenas to get them. There's other aspects that are strictly legal. There's aspects that are a combination technical, investigative, legal. There are times that that we've had in some nationally known cases, if you will, that were really more crisis management of what not to do. No, let's back off legal because of the ramifications of what can happen. So it's all strategic based upon size of the brand, what the issues are, who's behind it, motives behind it, what tools are available to us, what do we know, how much money are they willing to spend to solve the problem, etc. And that's kind of how we approach it, is really we have a bunch of tools. People come to us with their problems, and then we we find the right solution to solve that problem. As part of our team, we have a variety of different, we call them tools, but it really is expertise in a variety of different areas. And I mean, we have expertise in catching a cyber hacker. We have expertise in computer forensics and phone forensics. We have expertise in internet crisis management. We have expertise in internet damage assessment as to how much damage is out there. We have expertise in legal strategies and tactics to, civilly there. We have expertise in interfacing with law enforcement agencies such as the FBI or local law enforcement there. We have investigators. We have, we have networks around the world that we can tap into. We have relationships in a variety of different industry groups. So we've got a huge Rolodex, if you will, and key expertise in these areas that are tools, if you will, to bring to bear, and whether you bring all of them to bear or some of them or what have you, to solve that solution. We have a case now that's a group that's been a large insurance provider in the upper Northeast, and someone decided to attack this group and this insurance group to try to bring their company down. And they did that by initially setting up a blog, if you will, and started pumping daily all kind of negative information, reaching out to vendors, reaching out to contracts they had with folks to try to destroy that. And they've hidden behind proxies, they've hidden overseas. It's been a very tedious deal. In this particular case, we've been working on this case for about 1.5 years now, and we've identified them early on. But now, through all the legal battles associated with that, is that, you know, all of that's coming to bear because the folks that were involved with that turned out to be previous employees, some well-heeled people in the area that have come together as a consortium because they didn't like this group and this people in order to try to bring down this company. And this company makes millions of dollars a year in what they do. And so it's been very financially devastating to them. But we've been able to get our arms around all that, know who all the players are. And now it's just the legal process of doing that. I can give you one as simple as today. You know, had a lady that worked for a corporation, and a previous employee who she had hired and then fired, if you will, decided to reach out and defame her through emails and through stuff on websites and etc. Even made a step to try to pose as a law enforcement officer to a certain group and blah, 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 blah. And so it's going out to that. But with that, you know, we've gotten involved in that. We orchestrated putting that together, and it looks like as of the next day or two, this girl is going to get arrested, you know, with that. And then we will also, from a civil side of it, basically give her notification that if she does this anymore, besides her being arrested, that she's going to face, you know, awakening damages, if you will, on what she's done. I can think of another case that was an extortion case where executive woman that somehow someone had gotten some compromising pictures of her from her earlier life, if you will, and was threatening her and her husband to expose her to this huge corporation and to this, and it escalated, and they had been dealing with this for almost 2 years, and couldn't get around it, couldn't get anybody's help, couldn't, you know, just, they were frustrated. But when they reached out to us, it had escalated to the point that this person was trying to extort them. And the extortion is in exchange for sex and money, that this person wanted to meet them in a downtown hotel, wanted the husband to watch him have sex with his wife, and went out in the end, pay him $10,000. And so we got that call, and in a day and a half, we were able to locate who he was. We then worked with the client in setting up with the local sheriff's office a sting operation, and got the guy and got him arrested. So that we've had other scenarios, big international insurance company, again, reaching out with some very believable and damaging information that looked real, looked like they knew what they were talking about, and went to all their vendors, their key vendors, which were crucial for their business, to try to destroy them. And vendors were saying, well, what's going on there? And so they were like, well, what do we do? And they came to us, and we then worked on that. We were able to figure out who it was through some forensic evidence that we were able to collect, and it was someone, they were in a current lawsuit for several $million that was doing that to try to discredit them in relationship to the to the lawsuut. All the way to simply, I've got this link up here and someone's put it up here and I really want it down, and we're able to help them, do that. We're able to help get that taken down, and so it's really across the board, the kind of things that we get. There's several angles of that in relation related to protecting yourself as a business, and the first place is be aware at all times of your personal brand. Like it or not, your name is your name, and it is a brand. Like it or not, your business is a brand. So you really need to be aware at all times what's being said out there, and you can set things up with simple things like Google Alerts or whatever, which is a free service to to notify you of things that are going on. And so that's first step. Secondarily is that if you've got a corporation is that the things that ought to help you build your brand, i.e. getting social media out there, good material and those kind of things, videos and all the stuff that will help you promote your brand these days, are also good things that can help inoculate you against, minor types of things that get up there. It becomes a different story when someone is not just what I call a drive-by shooting. They just put something up and leave, but it truly is a repetitive attack, if you will, on that brand. And that's a little different story. Third thing is that don't pretend like it's the boogeyman, if you will, is that you got to take immediate action. If you wait, it will hurt you. And the longer you wait, the more it will hurt you and the more damage it can get, because it's difficult sometimes to get everything down off the internet. And while we do a lot of cases where we get stuff, taken down with it, but the more it's out there, the more it can be damaging to you, so you need to take steps there. The other is if you're a business and you've got employees, then what you ought to have is internet and computer usage policies that give you the right to look at mobile devices, to look at computer devices, to be able to look at internet browsing history, to look at those types of things. Because whether you like it or not, if you're in business long enough, you're going to have an employee that is not happy with you. And today, especially as we see the internet more prolific, people will reach out and try to hurt you that way. So you need to have those things so it makes it easier when you come in, that you don't have all these roadblocks for yourself in order to be able to try to get to the bottom of those things. The other things that you need to be aware of today is, because we're in a computer age and mobile phone age and everybody has all this stuff, is that you need to be cybersecurity conscious, if you will, of things that you can do to not get phished online, where people get in and get into your networks or hack into your networks. And we're seeing more and more hacking of emails and hacking of social medias, hacking of personal devices, computers, in conjunction with stalking, defamation, those kind of things, that they're utilizing all of those tactics, if you will, to be able to hurt a business. And so those are all things that you can do to try to help protect yourself. When people come to us, the outcome that they generally seek, if I had to say it in one word, is make it go away and give me my life back. Okay? We've dealt with this too long, and this is just killing me emotionally. It's killing me financially. It's just, make it go away. I just want to go back to normal. And so it really depends on the nature of the type of attack, and or is it just something simple. But most of the time is that, in terms of getting the evidence that we need, and getting a package structured that is either then gives the police a way to go, or an attorney a way to go civilly, is that we generally have those packages done, and if done our homework enough to then generate the case, if you will, in 2 to 3 weeks. However, that, for instance, if you take a civil suit, because of all the natures of courts and laws and, how you can ask for and subpoena information, and whether or not they fight and lawyer up or they don't lawyer up. But we typically see on the civil side, 5 to 8, 9 months, if you will, that these types of things generally take. As I mentioned earlier, we've got one that's been going on a year and a half. Now that's an exception, that's not the rule, but most of them in that 5 to 8 month type of thing. On the other side of it is that what I probably haven't expressed is that a lot of these cases is that about 75–80% of them, we don't have to go civil or criminal, is that we're able to intervene in the midst of this, identify who the people are, and solve it. Because a lot of people think that they're anonymous, and they think that they don't leave fingerprints, and they think, and they do stuff in the private they would never do to your face or never do out in open public. But the moment you're able to shine a bright light on them and go, we've got you, so now what? Okay? And I love the old line of Clint Eastwood is, do you feel lucky, punk, do you? If you really want to go for this, then we're going to hurt you, civilly or criminally or both or what have you. And most of the time we can make that go away. But about 25% of the time, those folks go, bring it on. And in that case, you have no choice but to bring it on, against them with that. And there are lots of things that you can do. And so even if a lot of people go, well, they don't have any money, well, that's okay, because you can bankrupt them for life. And so there's lots of things that you can do to leverage folks in order to be able to accomplish what you're trying to do, which is ultimately get your life back and make it stop. And that's kind of how some of that works. As far as educational resources, I wish there were more. But this is such a new field, a new category that people are still trying to figure out what's even happening. And there's not a lot of specialists in these areas that really work this kind of stuff day to day. We've had the fortune of, we talk to roughly about 5,000 cases a year. So you name it, we've probably seen it in terms of the type of case. But because we've been doing that, we haven't necessarily got a bunch of educational stuff out there. But there are some stuff in relation to stalking, and there's stuff relationship to hacking, and there's all bits and pieces, but there's not really a cohesive place. We wrote a piece that's on our website, cyberinvestigationsservices.com, and it's winning the war on internet defamation, and it's a pretty good read for someone if you're really starting to deal with that as to the things they've seen. And I can't tell you how many people have told us, my goodness, I was reading that and that was me. And so we've started that attempt, but unfortunately there's just not a lot out there that are great resources as of yet, but we're working on that.